So I had a different plan for a video today. And very quickly, I'll be doing improv tomorrow night at the Brazzers Theatre, UProv. So if you come and watch the improv, one of you is going to get pulled up on stage for every round, and you're going to be doing comedy with us and the crew. You can get tickets at brazzers.theatre.com. But no, what I actually wanted to talk about is something a bit more serious, almost. A PSA, really, for people, because I seriously screwed up the other day. And I almost caused myself some serious trouble. And it's to do with respecting the heat in Texas. It's certainly something I've joked about in previous videos. I did live in Singapore for 12 years, which is living on the equator where it's 98% humidity and hot every single day. And then I spent 8 years living in Phoenix, where we were, having 115, 120 degree days. But of course, this July, if you read anything to do with just, things, it's the hottest July in the history of ever. Every single day has been records. We've had consistently over 110, 115 degrees in Phoenix. Here in Texas, we've been having consistently hot days, unlike anything we've ever seen. But I also like to get out and exercise. I also like to challenge myself in the heat. I feel like it's a tougher workout. It gives me more benefit. Monday I went out about noon, and I did my hill sprints, which is about 40 minutes of just sprinting up a hill over and over again, in the heat, getting the sweat going, coming home. And I was kind of, that was a good workout. And then the next day, on Tuesday, I went to Cameron Park, and I really enjoyed Cameron Park. There's lots of shade, there's lots of paths, but it was hot, but I pushed myself. And so I spent nearly 2 hours kind of running, fast walking, or just aggressively uphilling. And I sort of pushed it a little bit further than I wanted to, but I was like, it'd be a good challenge, and I'm not stupid. I specifically plan a route that goes past water stations. So every 30 minutes or so I stop, and I'm drinking water from the fountain, and I'm soaking my head under the tap, and I soak my t-shirt, and I soak my hat, and I put my hat on, and I keep going. But all that being said, it was a really tough workout, and I dug it. But I felt bad afterwards. I woke up on Wednesday, and I felt terrible. But I think I'm just a bit overtired, but every muscle in my body hurt. I also realized I had this huge background headache. And I met my wife for lunch. I went down to see her at work, and my plan was to go to the gym, and I did. I went to the gym. I got there. I started stretching, but I realized I was a mess. And I was sort of I couldn't quite figure it out. I go, what's going on? This is so out of blah, blah, blah. It's out of character. My mood was affected. I had this constant pressure in my head. And I was sore, and I hurt, and I was exhausted, and I had to sleep constantly, and my eyes were being sucked into my head, and I was just completely useless. And it's only really the next day, on Thursday, that I realized I had probably given myself heat stroke, or sunstroke, or some combination of the two. That I'd pushed myself too hard, too fast. I hadn't had enough water, even though I had planned out my water. And as soon as I got back to the truck, I had a whole bottle of iced water waiting for me. So I was definitely doing the water, but I did have a moment when I was in Cameron Park, and I was about 20 minutes away from the truck. I was also in the middle of nowhere as far as trails went. So I was at least 15 minutes from being able to get to water. And I had a moment where I got lightheaded. I went, ooh, wow, okay, there was a moment right there. And I realized it was stupid, and I could have got myself in trouble. The only other time I've ever done something that stupid was almost sort of a year ago. It wasn't long after Right This Minute had got cancelled, and I was kind of just in a bad place. And I went out on South Mountain, which, if you don't know, is the biggest park in a metropolitan area in America, if I understand correctly. But it's in Phoenix. It's huge mountains, and you can go, and there's trails forever. And I went out, and I did nearly 13 miles across the whole park, and it was 112 degrees. And I went out, and I had underestimated the distance. I looked on the map, and I go, all right, there's a bailout point. which was to me about a third of the way. It was barely a fifth of the way. And this is 112. I was then caught in a 6-mile area where there's nothing, there's no bailouts, there's nobody. I was rationing my water, but I ran out of water about 2 miles from the end. At this point, it's the hottest part of the day. And I started realizing, okay, I'm getting dizzy. In the last mile, I could see where the car park was, which was my finish line. It's a place I was very familiar with, and I'm on just flat track. But I'm at that point, my mouth is really dry, and I'm a little concerned. And I was honestly, I still call it what you will, believe what you will about the universe or about religion or just luck or fate or whatever. But I was at that point, my mouth was so dry that I'm like, I would literally just kill for a piece of gum. And about 10 paces later, there is a glint that catches my eye from the dusty floor where people are running and biking and horses are going by. And I look down, and someone has dropped, and it's covered in dust and stuff, but there is a fully wrapped piece of gum, which you better damn believe I got down on my hands and knees, grabbed, unwrapped, put in my mouth. And that little burst of whatever was in there, sugar, and that little bit of moisture that got in my mouth is what got me to the finish line. But I had a thumping headache. I drank pints of water, did nothing. It wasn't until my wife turned up about 10 minutes later with a Gatorade to pick me up that I finally felt okay. And I know this is kind of long-winded, and I know this is a little bit different to the sort of the videos that I do, but I felt like it's important to put it out there that we see people who are having to work outdoors. We see people who don't have a choice and are outside, or a lot of us that, if you're like me, that like to go out and exercise in these conditions, is be careful, because I almost screwed up a couple of days ago, and I'm only now starting to feel better. But for a long while, for a couple of days, I was feeling messed up, and it's because of hubris, and it's because of trying to push myself unnecessarily, but also underestimating at times just how hot it is out there. So I know in Texas especially, you're hardy people, and we like to get out there and do things, but take it from me, take twice as much water as you think, take it easy, and take care. And also come see me do improv tomorrow night at UProv at the Brazos Theatre. It'll be fun.